Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with Trae.
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I get to welcome you to the end of our week for this fabulous Friday. Really excited for my guest who's in the building. We got Julie Pham in the building. We're going to be talking about her work with Curiosity Base, because she is the founder and the CEO, and also her #1 Amazon bestseller. I'm excited to dive into it with her because she's got lots going on. And of course, we always want to keep the inspiration flowing for you all out there. But of course, it's the top of the show. This is where you get to share this show with others who you know could benefit from this daily dose of dopeness we give you here on the Day with Trae. And if you can't watch us, you know you can always listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search for Converge Media Network and the Day with Trae. You'll find us there. Well, all week we've been having some inspiration abounding from the guests on the Day with Trae, and I've just been inspired by them all. Really excited to learn more about Curiosity Base, because one of the things that actually happens from your youth to your adulthood is that your curiosity begins to dip. This is real. We've seen it in so many data. You know, we talk about imagination. A lot of adults, we get used to our rigmarole, whatever that day-to-day looks like, and we lose sight of who we were as young people, being able to see the world as our oyster at times. Some of us retain it, which is beautiful, but not enough of us do. And so when we think about what it takes for us to constantly be intrigued by the world around us, there's something really special about intrigue and how it sparks action, how it sparks innovation, and how it sparks inspiration. When you are doing something that allows others to benefit from your works, your energy, your time, your talent, honestly, I'm always amazed, because you could have kept it to yourself, but you decided, nah, can't do that. I got to do more with this. I got to actually impact other people, maybe some who are not even around me, especially nowadays with the technological age, where you can be touching folks that are across the globe with your beautiful, inspiring words. We see a lot of this actually happening on a lot of platforms right now that go direct to consumer, right? So it's less about the middleman needing to amplify you and you being amplified by others who are experiencing your brilliance, which is why I ask y'all to always share this show, okay? Mm-hmm. It's the same concept. The idea is that we can have something like this, Converge Media, where we shed a light on what it looks like to be here in the Pacific Northwest, some of the brilliant stories that we've captured here and beyond our region are really a testament to what we can do with the power of stories being captured in a way that you get to experience. So it reminds me of the ways we stay curious here at Converge, and I'm encouraging you to stay curious in your pursuit of not only your purpose or passion, but if you already know what that is, stay curious about the ways that you can constantly innovate it so you are imparting your wisdom on others. Well, after this short break, we get to hear from Julie about all the ways that she is using Curiosity Base to do amazing work, and also learn more about this #1 Amazon bestseller. I'm so excited to dive in with her right after this, and I'm sure you don't want to miss it. So stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Empowering the community one connection at a time. ConnectWise, your partner in finding the support you need. Download the app today and experience the difference that a connected community can make. Learn more at eec-wa.org/connectwa-app. Black caregivers, entrepreneurs, and elders, this one's for you. Queen Care is offering complimentary self-care services to those who give so much to their communities. Take a moment to restore, recharge, and be cared for with free wellness treatments at the Spa House by Queen Care. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Go to queencareproducts.com now to sign up, or scan the QR code on your screen, because you deserve the same care you give to others.
Getting the scholarship really changed the conversation. It went from, no, I can do school in my free time and make it work, to I could only focus on school and I could be the best I can be every single day. I can soak up everything. I can read before class and make sure I'm not just learning enough to pass a test. Like, I could really pour all my time into school. That's what having a Seattle College Foundation Scholarship did for me.
Africatown Plaza is our latest affordable housing development project. It's 126 units of affordable housing over community commercial space.
It's the first time in my career, and I've been doing this for 10 years, that I was able to design for people who look like me.
Africatown Plaza is a beacon of hope.
Africatown Plaza is a love letter to the community.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and joining me right now, we got Julie in the building. What's up, Julie?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, good. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, so this is, different. I got to talk always about origin, what got you into the work you do? Because when I hear curiosity based, y'all are doing some dope stuff. Tell us a bit about what got that started.
I got to tell you, I was not always curious. So I'll start with that. So I'm trained as an academic, and as an academic, the curiosity is more about accumulating knowledge. And then I moved back to Seattle in 2008 during the Great Recession to help run my family's Vietnamese newspaper. And working at a small newspaper, you have to do a lot of volunteering, get pulled into all of this community work. And other people were having fun, and I realized I wasn't having fun. And part of that was because people were building relationships. And so what I discovered was the curiosity had to also be about learning from other people, not just about what I was going to learn from books, and not just about writing something and doing something with it. It was actually the discovery that comes from just being together.
Wow. I find it so intriguing because oftentimes, if you don't step back and do some self-analysis, you never get to a point like that, right? You don't have those kinds of aha moments of your life of like, wait a minute, where do I fit in it? Oh, wait, I'm not fitting because I'm not allowing myself to go there. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. But also, family newspaper, that's got to have some real specific connection to community. Tell us a bit about the work you were doing there.
Yeah, so my parents founded the first private Vietnamese newspaper in the Pacific Northwest. That was 1986. I grew up with the newspaper. Didn't think I was going to work at the newspaper. My parents did not want me to work at the newspaper. They worked so hard so I wouldn't have to. And and so then as I was finishing up my dissertation, I realized I didn't want to stay in academia, and I came back in 2008. And that was a time where everyone's hurting, and this is the start of the global decline of the newspaper industry. And I got my real life MBA by running the newspaper. It was the best education I ever got.
Wow. So, I always think about the connection that we have to have here at Converge to community. And there's something where it's like the niche you're filling is also amazing and inspiring to other folks, but it starts with the people you're serving, the stories that you're amplifying and telling, the resources that you're sharing that are important to that community. So I love hearing that you have a kindred soul for community media.
Oh, absolutely. Because also when I was doing that work, I realized that we were all struggling. So it wasn't just my Vietnamese newspaper. It was also the Chinese, the Spanish speaking, the Russian, the Black newspapers, and the African newspapers and the African American newspapers, right? And we were all struggling at the same time. And so what I actually ended up doing was creating a coalition of all of these ethnic media. And I didn't know the word at the time, but now I learned it's called public-private partnership.
Yeah.
I didn't know that back then. I was just more of like, all these different organizations, how do we work together so that we can share our resources? And nonprofits would reach out and say, can you advertise for free? And I say, you might be a nonprofit, but we're non-profitable. Or we're non-profitable right now. So we need to all work together and share what we have. I think of it as stone soup.
So then you realize you're not being curious. Tell us about the beginning of Curiosity Base.
So I worked at the newspaper for 3 years with my family. It's a family-run newspaper. And after 3 years, I'm realizing, okay, I work with 8 people. Half of them have the same last name as me. I need to go to a bigger org. So I went into the tech industry for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I share this because there was a bit before I started my company in 2021. And so while I was there, the last 6 years was actually working at a nonprofit that advocated on behalf of the tech industry. And so Trae, I brought together people across different, when I was doing all of the work around ethnic media mobilizing, and then small businesses in Rainier Valley. And now, when I was working in the tech industry, bringing together people from different sectors. So there's all these different kinds of diversity, right? And while I was there, I realized I ended up creating this cross-sector collaboration fellowship, which I heard Jenna Finesse was one of your guests earlier. She was in cohort 3 or cohort 4.
Oh wow! Yeah,
so
she was
in the
earlier
program.
this week.
She was in the program.
Wow.
So, and so brought together people, and I realized, why is it some people are struggling and some people are really thriving? What's the difference? It was curiosity. The people, because we'd bring together people to learn from the community, to think about a project, and then to implement. And there were people who were so focused on an outcome and on a plan, and they really struggled. And then there were people who were just, oh my gosh, look at what we're learning. I had no idea. And it was about curiosity. And so that's when I was just, I don't want to just do this for other people and just for the tech industry. I want to do this, I want to actually bring this widely into all these different kinds of organizations. Because actually, so in my work, Curiosity Base, we in particular work with organizations. Because Trae, these were, when I was doing the fellowship, they were all volunteers. Imagine what happens when you work with people when you're trying to stimulate that curiosity with people who are paid to work together. Right? And that's where, because we spend most of our time at work.
Yeah.
We usually see our colleagues more than we see our family.
It's so true. So then you said that there's a model here to really help spark that curiosity for folks, or for them to understand where they're at. What is the work that y'all do that then takes someone who maybe doesn't have that can recognize maybe some of those blocks and then start to explore it more?
So Trae, earlier you said as kids, we all have all this curiosity. I think we are all curious. I think we're all born curious. We ask lots of questions, and then we can get that beaten out of us, discouraged. And so what we do is work with organizations to help them recognize, their employers recognize their responsibility in creating learning environments.
Oh, yeah.
Just that learning doesn't stop at school. It doesn't stop when we graduate. It actually, and we spend most of our time at work. And so how do you make the where you work a place where you can continually learn, and not just, I want to actually differentiate here between training and learning.
Yeah.
Because training is, you can test it, it can be taught one to many. Learning, though, it's this activation of what you know, and that also this willingness to learn from other people too. And so it can actually be created within, just through conversations. And as we're learning, we are also teaching. And so I think we are all curious. And yet, how do we also acknowledge when we don't want to practice curiosity? Because I think of curiosity as a practice. And actually, I'll tell you a story of, that's because I had this really publicly humiliating experience that made me realize that I was taking curiosity for granted.
Really?
Yeah. I was giving a talk. Trae, this was already, I think I was already years into my business here. And I'm feeling good, and I'm talking about my book, and I've given this talk many times before. And then someone basically tells me this is a waste of my time. And I just freeze. And, all of these thoughts are running through my head. And then afterwards, because I was angry too, I was pretty upset, right? I had to hold it together, but I was also really upset. And I was just, how could that person say that? And what I realized was, we are both curious, and yet we have different expectations. And that's actually what can get in the way of practicing curiosity and seeing this as a practice. And so it's important to acknowledge there are times where we practice curiosity, and there are times where we don't. And I actually think it's way harder and more powerful when we acknowledge when we don't practice curiosity.
Wow. Well, it's so interesting because when you talk about the difference between training and learning, right? A lot of people could only see it one way. And I think too, because companies are driven by their bottom lines. What are the goals of this company? How do we turn a profit? Whatever that service or product that they produce, it's all about profits. And so the mind shift that you have to take in order to realize there's more value that could be bestowed upon any employees of your company by allowing for them to have these moments of curiosity and learning that can take place in many different ways. So I love that you guide folks through that. Now, your book, #1 Amazon bestseller. Tell us more about why you chose to write this particular book.
Trae, are you familiar with 5 love languages?
Yes.
Okay, so think of the 7 forms of respect as kind of like the 5 love languages, but love and respect are different, right? Because you might love someone but not respect them, and you might respect someone and not love them. And in the workplace, you probably don't care about love so much, right?
Yeah.
So in any case, when I started thinking about this book, it was actually because I would see friction emerge. I did a lot of community work, and when you do community work, different opinions.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, right. And inevitably, there's just a difference of how people want to be treated, and I remember so clearly. There was an engineer and a union organizer on a team, and the engineer kept asking these deep probing questions, and the labor organizer was just, "Why are you asking me all these questions?" And the engineer's like, I'm really interested. And what I realized was they just had a different idea of how they wanted to be treated, because for the engineer, it's these deep probing questions, and so then that was just like, oh, it's like the 5 love languages. And so at first I was thinking about it in terms of different languages, and I would ask people, how do you want to be treated? So that was my first research question. How do you want to be treated at work? And then people kept talking about respect. And then I was like, okay, what does respect mean to you? And then they would have all these different definitions. And that's when I was just, I think we can agree on how respect feels. We disagree on what respect looks like. And yet we talk about it as if it's the same thing. Because Trae, how often have you been in workplaces where the leader says, we need to respect one another. We need to be respectful. Or we're acting like we're talking about the same thing, and yet we talk about respect also in terms of, do you feel respected or not? And so then there's this respect versus disrespect. And it's either respect, and if I don't like it, then it's disrespect. And I actually want to shift the way we talk about it, and to recognize, how do you want to be respected? Like my dream is one day we're going to talk about forms of respect the way we talk about love languages. Yeah. Where I can say, these are my forms of respect. What are yours? Yeah. And you know what that means? I want to respect you.
Yeah. Well, it's so special to think about how something that seems generalistic oftentimes is not, and is not spoken about in this way, where if you don't have a shared framework of what that looks like, then you never have that meeting of the minds. So I really appreciate this body of work. Now, I mean, obviously there is huge value in what you have produced, and folks are gravitating toward it. Tell us a bit about some of the responses that you've gotten since releasing the book.
People find it liberating in that, because so the biggest assumption when I come into a room, I will ask people, raise your hand if you think you know how to be respectful. And everyone's got their hands raised, right? And then I say, like, I don't think you know how to be respectful. I don't think you know. Which is rude, It's like, I know you know. I know you know how to be respectful. I am not coming here to train you how to be respectful, because that's the expectation. Yeah. When we go back to learning and training, right? The expectation, here's the trainer. There are 7 forms. We got to all do it, right? And so And so I tell people this is actually about how to be curious, how to practice curiosity around respect. It's to understand that we want it differently, and then to also ask ourselves why. Why do I want respect in certain ways that I do? So I'll give you an example. Growing up, my mom was supposed to pick me up from school, and she'd always be late. And so the school staff would wait with me. And I felt a lot of anxiety because they had to wait. And I would watch the cars go into the parking lot. And she's like, is that her? Trae, I still have that to this day. I still have anxiety. So I have to get curious about, what do I care about? Why? What's that based on? And so it's not just about punctuality is important. It's like, let me tell you how I actually feel anxious when I don't get it and where that's from. And so that requires this inward curiosity. We need to be able to articulate how we want respect for ourselves before we can expect anyone else to know.
Yeah, this is so important. And it's interesting because when we think about respect, it takes me to some work from Dr. Edward Nichols, who talks about the axiology of different ethnic groups. And there are these like universal things that are a bit foundational, but person to person, they can take on different connotations. So I appreciate what you're talking about here, because there are some real specificities that we have to address in order to understand what the other person needs, and also to express our needs.
We have to know ourselves first.
That's right.
We have to know ourselves first. And so, because sometimes people will ask me, well, how do women want respect? Right? How's this group or this group? And I'm just, it's not a monolith.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, the framework is about me understanding how I want it. How do I communicate that? I mean, I have something, I don't have a rubber band with me right now, I usually do, but I have something called the rubber band rule. And that, what it does is it shows we can stretch for other people. Right? I mean, because the golden rule is treat people the way you want to be treated, but what if they don't want to be treated the way you want to be treated, right? Wow. But the rubber band rule shows like, we can flex. Trae, I'll flex for you. Yeah. Right? And then I'm with groups of people and I'll flex because I want to be respectful. But what happens is sometimes I'm doing stuff I don't like. Yeah. But other people, I mean, maybe other people want me to follow very certain procedures, and I can get this done way faster, but they're not about just get it done, they're about get it done this way. And so I will do it for them, but then I'm stretching and stretching and stretching until I snap and break. So the rubber band rule is knowing what are my breaking points, what's going to make me snap, and that's different for everyone. And so that ultimately at the end of the day it's about self-respect. I think people they say you got to demand respect. It's like, do you even know how you want it?
Yeah. No, this is such a great body of work. And it takes me to something where I go, because it is so nuanced and different for folks, if somebody's respect looks like disrespect to me, how do you deal with that?
So I define disrespect as intentional. Because usually people are just, disrespect is whatever I don't like. Yeah. I don't like it, that's disrespect. Okay, Trae, I also have to be really clear. We are not talking about things that are illegal. Yeah. All right? Yeah. Right? We're not talking about things that are against the handbook, right? We're talking about things that, there's a lot of things that are in the gray. And so I think of disrespect as intentional. Trae, I know you don't like it, and I did it anyway. Right? But most of the time, it's not intentional. Most of the time, it's because we just don't know each other that well. Or maybe I'm applying the golden rule and I like it, so I think you'll like it. Or maybe, Trae, it's because you kept telling me it's okay. We condone behavior. How often does that happen? Oh, it's not a big deal that you are late. Right? Like, how often do we do that? So how much are we responsible for the way that other people treat us too? And taking some responsibility for that.
Oh, wait, what a phenomenal body of work. Well, clearly folks are resonating with this, and you are still helping companies understand how to utilize this body of work. What are you excited for when you think about the future?
I think about it, right now we are so polarized. And there is such a sense of right or wrong, and we're just not listening to each other. I'm excited about the possibility of slowing down and of connecting. And for me, I'm excited that one day people are going to talk about forms of respect the way we talk about love languages. That right now the work is focused in the workplace. The next is to talk about personal lives, because people are already telling me, I use this with my family. I'm excited to do this work with parents and kids. And how do we, instead of saying these are the rules for respect, because it's not about rules. Things change. Respect is dynamic. It's relative. So yeah, to have greater impact and for us to ultimately be curious about respect.
Well, I can't thank you enough for this body of work and for sharing it and coming on the Day with Trae to talk about this. This is quite incredible, honestly. Dr. Pham, I got to give you a second, because if folks are wanting to connect with you, if they are owners of companies, they need to get you to come in and help learn and establish some curiosity in their work environment. Look right there. Let folks know how they tap in.
So you can reach me on LinkedIn. That's actually the social media platform that I use the most. Visit curiositybase.com, and you can also just email me at julie@curiositybase.com.
Wow. Julie, thank you so much for your work and for coming on. Anytime you want to come back, just come on ahead.
I will take you up on that offer, Trae. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
This was great. Well, y'all, what a way to end the week. I'm going to wrap up my curiosity because I got my brain working right now, right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Hello, welcome to Elite Insights with Carlos Imani. We're looking to offer an in-depth look at event production industry through the lens of client experiences and joint successes. The podcast will emphasize guest interviews, focusing on clients discussing their fields and reflecting on their collaboration with Elite Collective. Again, you're with Elite Insights. Carlos Imani here. See you guys in a few.
Here on Back to Basa, it's always been important to me that we uplift stories from across the region, and that no matter where you live in the nation, you never have to miss a moment of the show as we continue to highlight the beauty, excellence, and resilience of our communities across the Pacific Northwest. Why? Because representation matters. So no matter where you live, be it the Central District or Centralia, Portland or Pullman, or anywhere across the country, I encourage you to join me on this Back to Basa journey by downloading the free Fox Local app on your phone or smart TV as we continue to elevate the very best in our communities.
Working with Denterman has been totally different than working with a traditional bank.
They're real, and they meet you right where you stand.
I was recently funded, and that money has just changed the trajectory of what we're able to do and our output. This has been just more than just funding or a one-on-one connect. It's been an opportunity for us to really grow and connect and build roots within the community.
As a small business owner, you need to put your faith into the right people, and they seem like good people to put their faith into.
Welcome back, y'all, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Huge shout out to my guest today, Dr. Julie Pham, joining us, telling us all about her amazing work, the 7 forms of respect. Now, this is something for me where I'm telling you, we talk about curiosity base and sparking curiosity, and I'm just super curious about it because I really appreciate diving into a topic where I am like, I would have never thought about this, but she is absolutely right, which is why it is so well renowned right now, because this work challenges us to consider, what are we talking about when we say, I need you to respect me, I'm gonna respect you. What does that look like? So I appreciate her joining me today and giving me a glimpse to this work, but also you get to purchase this book and join her. She said, follow her on LinkedIn. You can always stay abreast as to the great work that she's doing, because we all need to stay curious in our everyday lives. Let's not forget that imagination and curiosity take us to new heights, and it's exciting to find ourselves in new spaces, new environments, doing new things, learning new hobbies, loving new people. To be honest, it is a great exploration of self. So I'm encouraging you to be inspired just as much as I was today, hearing about this amazing body of work that is not only permeating, corporate spaces, but you too can figure out, what is that form of respect that you desire? How can you communicate that with those who are around you, your loved ones, your coworkers, your neighbors, your family? How can you make sure they understand exactly how to respect you? One day, through the work that we can all do to elevate this work, we will be talking about these forms of respect just as much as we talk about love languages. Thanks so much for joining me this week, y'all. And I got my brother Deontay Danford joining next week as the guest host, and you know he's gonna keep y'all rocking. So I'll be seeing y'all soon. But until then, at some point in time at 11 a.m., y'all. Peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.